Joining us now is former New York Times columnist Bob Herbert, distinguished senior fellow now at Demos and a contributor to PolicyShop.net. I tried to call you earlier, but I picked up the phone, and no matter how much I was putting in the...
It wasn't connected.
It wasn't. It was there still, but not on the... I love the idea that 20 years ago what Mitt Romney was doing was standing in airport lobbies plunking quarters into the payphones.
Exactly. Yeah, if you believe that one. We're in a weird place right now.
Do you think, though, in this weird place, there is a little ray of sunshine that something could pass? No.
No.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
I think nothing is going to happen. We're watching political theater. I don't think the president is going to propose anything big and bold, which is what we need on Thursday night. And even if he did, the Republicans would not allow it to pass. I think that what we're watching is the early stages of the presidential campaign. So the president is trying to set the Republicans up as the do-nothing Congress, take his fight to the people, and hope that, you know, it results in a negative reaction to the Republicans. The problem is that this is what he should have done, I think, in the first year and a half of his presidency, when the Republicans were being obstructionists even then. And he should have made the case for a big infrastructure proposal, and then he should have taken that case to the American people, not for political reasons, but in hopes of actually getting it passed.
So follow up the big stimulus proposal from his first year, from very early in his first year, with a separate infrastructure plan.
Absolutely.
In terms of... And
get rid of those tax cuts. I mean, this tax cut mania, you're talking correctly about the Republicans, you know, and Hubbard and the tax cuts and all that other kind of stuff. But apparently a big portion of the president's proposal on Thursday night is going to be about more tax cuts, too. It's exactly what we don't need.
We've been hearing... So go ahead.
How can you talk about tax cuts on the one hand, you know, again and again and again, while ranting on the other hand about the deficits that are allegedly killing the country, according to the politicians? Makes no sense at all.
In terms of what we are hearing about what the president is going to say, it was reported tonight by the Associated Press that the president's going to propose a package that is a total of about $300 billion. Less than $50 billion of that is spending on infrastructure. More than half of it is an extension of unemployment and an extension of the payroll tax cut, which is a tax cut, but one that is targeted toward people who cash paychecks.
Which we need. I mean, you need the unemployment benefits. It does stimulate the economy, but you need it to help the people who are suffering from joblessness.
When you describe something that would be big and bold from the president as something that we would need, what would you think of as something that would be big and bold?
Well, the thing to look at now is that despite all the rhetoric, interest rates are very low. And while we have a long-term debt problem in this country, the big problem in the short to medium term is employment. We need to get people back to work in order to get the economy moving again, because the problem now is that you don't have the demand, and you need to get people on the payroll so that they're paying taxes again, and that begins to alleviate some of your deficit problems. It's at that point that you could pivot, to use a term that the Obama administration likes to use, that you could begin to pivot to deficit reduction. But right now, we should be borrowing money at these historically low interest rates to invest in the economy, and I would invest a lot of it in infrastructure and that sort of thing to put people back to work. I also think, this will never pass in a million years, but I also think that we have such an employment crisis in this country that we need direct government job creation to put some people, and especially a lot of young people who are disconnected from the workforce entirely, to put them back to work, again, to alleviate some of the tremendous suffering that's out there.
One of the things that seems to be back on the table, at least in terms of discussions, is sort of a pseudo version of that, the TAMP program, which pays private companies to hire people who are unemployed people now for training purposes, something that was very successful as part of the initial stimulus effort, championed by a lot of Republican governors, including Haley Barbour at the time.
Right. There was a lot of bipartisan support for that. One of the problems with that and the president's infrastructure proposals to date is that they're too small, given the scale of our employment problem. It's not a problem. It's really a crisis. I mean, we really need something huge, but I don't think that it's in the cards. And then towards the latter part of this year, they're going to start talking again about deficit reduction. And austerity is just exactly what you don't need right now. So I think that we're in for hard times for a long time.
Bob Herbert, former New York Times columnist, now a distinguished senior fellow at Demos. Bob, it's always great to have you here, even if you are sometimes Mr. Doom and Gloom.
Thanks,
Rachel. With a smile, which I appreciate. All right, Democratic Senate hopeful from Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, will be joining us next. And the interview tonight is Republican presidential candidate Buddy Roemer, who has been charming everybody in the building since he has been here tonight. Stay tuned.